have it, but actually, it might not be bad in an old fashioned, to be honest.
But you just got to finish it at this point, right? I mean, you have to drink it at some point. You just
I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna finish it, but I have to figure out how I'm gonna finish it.
Right. So old fashioned is the way. So because your arm keeps coming up, and I like I said, I've done the training. We're gonna take a second to figure out what is the deal with that tattoo, and you know, explain that tattoo and why that one's so prideful, because it's always in all your videos, not on purpose. It's just the most glaring.
Yeah. You know, forearm tattoos are, you know, definitely something you never know if it's going to work out for you or not. Before the arm tat, I have two on my back, and what we were talking about, like for me, I can look at my back and tell you the, you know, circa years of those tattoos, because they're very much based on like my first one was back in college. So it's got, you know, some tribal aspects of it, you know, that was 2002, 2003. So luckily I didn't do the full.
I'm not gonna judge.
Yeah. So, but you can kind of tell. And then, so that was, you know, college years. And then I've got a big one on my left shoulder, which was when I was in the very much immersed in the Les Mills world, which is very, they're based out of Auckland, New Zealand. Yeah. So was very much immersed in the Maori culture. So I have one from them on my back. But the forearm one, so the forearm one says ride the line. And it started with just the text that I had done. And this is before Bria and I even met and started dating. But I'd always wanted something here. I always liked the idea of a forearm tattoo. I wasn't sure what I wanted. And then for me, I wanted something that was very much you know, looking back on everything that's happened in my life, and you know, things that have always been taught to me from a lot of different people was always about humility and staying humble through. You can enjoy your success, but you want to obviously stay as humble as possible, and so that has stuck with me in a lot of respects. And so ride the line is what I came up with to symbolize that, which is there's that fine line between confidence and arrogance, because my mom had always taught me, she did teach me to stay very confident, like walk with your head up and not walk with your head down looking down, but always making eye contact with people, and that confidence and continuously keeping that balance, if you will. And so I had the text done, and then I really wanted to expand on it. So then I had obviously the fade around it, and then the one on, I have to do this, I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, that's the new one.
So this one is based on, I was still just looking for things, and eventually I do want to finish the sleeve. Wifey doesn't like it, but we'll see. But so the next piece that I had added on here is actually based on an African, it's called a Dwenamin, and you can see it matches. You have the bottom and the top, and basically stands for strength and humility. So again, it goes back to that balance, as everything else does. So and that's pretty much what I envision to finish it with the other different pieces and different things as well. So
just a bunch of humility tattoos. Yeah, I mean,
humility and balance, that's my biggest thing, because I feel like everything we do and everything that we are going for is always about some sort of balance. Like people balance each other out. There's always, you know, for every action, there's a reaction. You know, there's all these different things. There's always balance in the universe and everything. And I'm not a, even though I was raised very religious, I'm not a religious person now, but I do highly believe in just being a good person and karma and balance. And so that for me, that's what this entire thing embodies.
Amazing. No, that's very, I mean, like that's I don't mean to get all, like, I'm just saying that's a very good point is all I'm saying. So let's talk a little bit about, okay, so you mentioned the Washington. When did you get to LA, and when did you end up being like a role model or a Les Mills, like not role model, but I meant like a model in general? I mean, obviously your looks were getting better, and you had the rock eyebrow that all of a sudden you and Rock are the only two people that I know that can do that damn eyebrow.
You know what's funny? I tell you what, the eyebrow thing is really funny. Number one, it gets me in trouble because like I'll, you know, if I'm talking to someone and they're saying something stupid, the eyebrow will go up, and I'm trying to, they're like, what? I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, shit. So yeah, I gotta watch that thing. But and so I got the eyebrows because years and years ago when I was a kid, no shit, I practiced. I practiced in the
Oh,
mirror.
you
I
did?
wanted,
You
I
actually worked
wanted
up
to
the
be able to
muscles?
do it. I remember specifically, I don't remember how old I was. I just remember specifically practicing because I saw someone do it. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I want to be able to do that. And then, so I would like sit there and like practice. And now it gets me in trouble because that thing has a mind of its own. So I definitely have to be careful with that. But while I was in Washington, I was then working, somebody had suggested, actually, think back to this. At that point,
there's shots involved, so
yeah, put it all together. So okay, so was working at the gym, right? And then was really at that point though, the gym itself wasn't doing very well. I wasn't making a lot of money. I definitely needed to do something. So working, you know, you're in the state capitol. I got a lot of people have said, hey, look, if you get a state job, man, that's your money. You're in. You get benefits. You get retirement. You get all these different things. And that was the first time I'd ever even thought about a 401k or retirement or everything. I'm like 20, 25-ish. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I should really think about that. So started looking and applied and actually, so I got a job working for this. So I worked for the state, Washington State Department of Health for 4 years and was a facility operations supervisor. It was in the community and family health department, help and I did some good things while I was there. I helped establish a corporate wellness program there and was still teaching group exercise classes, and was still doing Les Mills stuff. So I would like have my day job and I would go teach group exercise classes, which is very, very typical. That's what most instructors do anyway. So through all the people I knew and everything like that, it was connections, it was meeting people. And so randomly through all this stuff that was happening, Les Mills came out with their own clothing line. And they were doing a photo shoot in Portland for it. And one of the guys at Les Mills said, hey, you're not very far from Portland, right? I'm like, no, I'm like 2 hours away. And they're like, hey, would you come down and do this photo shoot? We'd love for you to be one of the models for it. So I said, sure, which was the very first photo shoot that Jericho and I ever did together. And the photographer was a guy named Raphael, of course it was. And he was an amazing guy, but after we shot, he was like, dude, I'd love to work with you more. You should go and be, here's an agency that should represent you. So I again, never thought about it, but I was like, okay, sure. Hell. So I reached out to them, they signed me. And then that's how I got into modeling, was just because he recommended me. And so I did a lot of stuff for Reebok. I did do Adidas underwear. So I was like on the cover. Yeah. Like my package was on a package for a long time. It was like from here down. So, cause they have to pay you extra if they show your whole face. So it was only like from the nose down. Yeah.
Well, the down part is probably what they were worried about. I mean, even though your face was pretty, they were probably like, I don't care about the rest.
They were interested in the package, not the face at that point. So just did a lot of those different things. And, but it was just looking for opportunities and you never know what's going to come up. I was still teaching group X classes and still worked for the Washington State Department of Health. Had just gotten, I was good at what I did. I was good at my job. I was good at my classes. By that point, I had left that little small gym. I had moved over to the biggest gym in the area. My classes were over 100 a class. They had to, we grew up that group exercise spot. It was the Valley Athletic Club. For those of you that know Olympia and Tumwater, it was
Valley?
Yeah, Valley
Fitness? Yeah.
No, not Valley, the Valley.
Oh, Valley, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's just small, the smaller one for that area, but like the biggest one in terms of group exercise. So we did all these things. And when I had done all the stuff at the Les Mills, again, it goes back to the connections of the people I met. Going into that fourth year, I was ready to leave Washington. I'm a sun guy. I need sunshine. I need warmth. And Washington doesn't have it except for like 3 months out of the year. So I was really ready to leave. And randomly one night I got a text message from someone I used to work with in Les Mills. She had left a long time ago. I hadn't talked to her in years. And she texted me and said, hey, what are your thoughts? We have a position. There's a potential position open for a group exercise director for Gold's Gym in Southern California. What do you think? I'm like,
for real?
Sign me up. And just so happened. Yeah, so just so happened to be coming down to LA that week anyway for a photo shoot for Les Mills. So I did the photo shoot, rented a car, drove over to the gym or the corporate office, did the interview, um, flew back up to Washington the next day, had a phone interview with the CEO the next day, and they were like, they flew me back down like the next week, met with them, offered me the job, signed it, went back to Washington. If it didn't fit in my car, I sold it, I gave it away, and I was at that job in 2 weeks. I just
How
left.
old were you at that time?
This was 2011. So fall of 2011. So that was what? Maybe do the math. We figured that out 9 years ago. So 28.
Okay.
So I was 28. So I was 28 years old, and I just left. I mean, by that point, I was renting a room from a buddy. You know, I had a bed and a nightstand and a couple of boxes of
just basically working and then sleeping. So it wasn't about the place where you were living.
No, it wasn't a big deal. So yeah, when I left at 28, this is before Instagram and all that stuff, and and really,
2008 was like ancient foreign language, right?
Yeah, I think Facebook was going on at that point, but so I left. I just left, and basically on the drive down from Washington to here, I didn't have a place to live, but I found a place. I found a room to rent on the way down with the help of my dad, who lived in the Valley for years, the San Fernando Valley where I am now. And it was basically a friend of a friend of a friend of my dad's that had a room to rent. And that's how, and I met her, very lovely lady named Nancy. And she, like, I met her the day I showed up, was basically how that happened.
I'm sure she
rented a room from her and then just took the job and got to work. And what's that?
No, I'm just saying you were like,
so it was weird. It was weird to just leave. Yeah, it was weird to just leave. But I was ready to do it. So that's kind of been the thing for me is I did that from Texas to Washington, and then I did it from Washington to California. And what I really discovered for me, especially when I was 28, I was driving down. It's a 2-day drive. I was driving down here. I was thinking about, like, hey man, this is your chance to how many times do you get a chance to really start fresh, like truly start fresh,
especially
where nobody knows you. You're like, this is an opportunity to really just go after it and make something of yourself. And so I was like, as I was driving down, I was like, all right, man, like let's do this right this time. Like we all make mistakes and things like that, but like let's get this done. Let's do this right. And so
I actually focus, right?
Yeah. So that's for me, that was it. That was like, all right, it's time to focus. And so that was really the biggest turning point in my life, was leaving Washington, moving down here. So many learnings and relationships and everything had been built in Washington. I still go back up there. I still see my friends and my loved ones up there, because there's a lot of them. But that was my pinnacle. That was my turning point. I shouldn't say pinnacle. That was the turning point for me, was this is where it starts. Yeah. So took the job, worked for them for almost 4 years. Through them, had gotten involved with the Les Mills even more so when Beachbody and Les Mills had teamed up. That's a whole nother story, but long story short with that, of course, because it is a long story, but like, with the modeling and everything, I was with Les Mills. I would fly over to New Zealand to do photo shoots for them. And when I was over there, one of the last times I was over there, we would teach in their main gym, and they always filmed us for feedback purposes. And so they were filming us, and I thought that's what it was, but it was actually my casting tape for Les Mills Pump, which was the collaboration between Beachbody and Les Mills. I didn't know it. I didn't apply for it. I just did it, and they were like, hey, we would love for you to be a part of this. And so I said, sure. So that was my first introduction into Beachbody. Again, I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't planning it. I wasn't looking for it. I had the old gym job, and was just like, sure. I always said sure. I was like, okay. I rarely ever said no. And I think that was a big.
You say sure, and you do the other thing, which you talked about earlier. What's that button called?
Oh, the fuck it button. Yeah, I hit that button a lot.
That's the one I love that the most, because I'm like, that button. It's not. What's that Staples where they say, what's that button?
Oh, that was the easy button.
Yeah, but you had the other button.
Well, mine's been the fuck it button for a long time, because it's just always been you can always go back a little bit. You can always go back. If you take one step forward and you have to take two steps back, to me, it's like that one step, you never know what's going to do for you.
Right.
And so I did that so many times. A lot of times it didn't work. But then there was these instances where it did work when I hit the button, I came down to California, and man, did it work. And then, fast forward to all this stuff for Gold's Gym. Beachbody Les Mills split. I was still doing stuff for Gold's Gym, and then Gold's Gym became involved with Beachbody, so I was still with Beachbody. By that point, Gold's Gym hired me to be their marketing director, and then I was like, I got a career. At this point, I'm like 32 years old, 31, 32 years old. I've got a great career path. Brianne and I were dating by this point, and I was good. And then I got a call from Carl, the CEO of Beachbody, one morning, saying, hey, we've always had these conversations. You always talked about doing things like, what do you think about coming and doing, which ended up being Core de Force. And I was like, boop, push the button and just said, let's try it, because I could always go back. I could always go back to the business. I could always go back to the gym side. I always had, not a safety net, 'cause there wasn't a safety net, but I always had something I knew I could go back to. And that was a big step. And, the rest is kind of Beachbody history at that point. I mean, it's been, we came out with, when did we come out with Core de Force? 2016?
Yep, I looked it up today, 2016.
Came out with it in 2016.
4 years ago. Unreal. Like how it's unreal, because I literally started with Core de Force.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I got to know you. Obviously, it was your only program, but I'm just saying, like, that's how I started. And Jerica was like, I just got done having a kid. Remember in the video she was talking about that?
Yeah. I mean, that was, look, we wrote that program. Like, no, this is what's crazy about that whole thing was Carl called me. I was really loving my job as marketing director. I was really enjoying it. It was fun. It was challenging. Yeah, it was great. And then he called and asked about, wanted to do Core de Force. And then, it was like, who do you, what do you think about you and Jericho doing something? I'm like, yeah, sure. We know each other forever. We could do it. And then I call her and we started talking about it. She's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm pregnant. And we signed the deal, and she was, our kickoff meeting, like she was 3 days overdue on on the kickoff meeting. And we're like, and they lived down in Laguna Beach at the time in OC. We had a contingency plan that day where, like, when she left, there was like a halfway point that if she didn't make it to that, if she had gotten so far, I would have to come get her. And then if she gotten so far this way, her husband, Yusuf, would have had to come get her. Like, that's how due she was. And
right.
So we wrote that program, then she had Bex, and then was on, even while she was on maternity leave, I would just go over her house, and that's where we wrote the program. And then we'd test it and trial things. And so, yeah, that was a long process, and, a lot of stress, of course, on her, but it was, we're still proud as hell of that product, because that was our first,
Yeah.
It was our first program as well. We had some great people to work with at the office, but, when I look back on it now, like the things I've learned from Core de Force to Live 4 to 10 rounds, man, night and day difference.
Unreal.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Like, I can see the difference, but I also love the way you guys taught that course. And you could tell you were kind of like a rookie, even though you weren't now, but looking back, like originally I wouldn't have said that. But the fact that Live 4 and 10 rounds have come out, you can look back at that and go, whoa, like he was just like, holy shit, what is this? I'm just doing it, right? Well,
yeah, because what so many people don't realize is, like, when you film, it's like this right now. Right. Actually, it's worse than this, because right now, what we're doing right now is I can see your face.
Right.
So I can see your emotions. I can see your reactions. When you're filming a home workout program, you have a lens that gives you no feedback, no emotion, nothing. It just stares back at you. So it's your job to put all the energy and effort into it.
Right.
For an inanimate object. And, we came from the world of group exercise, which has really helped us. I think that's what has helped us bring so much fun to these programs, because we have this group exercise feel. But it was a challenge to go from teaching to hundreds and hundreds of people live to this little tiny thing that you're just staring at that you get no emotions back from.
So yeah, you're talking to us, and I'm like, And you're like, and it's pretty good because you're like, hey, we're doing this and that and do this next. And you guys are pretty good about it. So speaking of which, Elijah just called and he said, so Elijah Craig.
You can't keep Elijah waiting.
No, Elijah is actually, I always hear Colin Cowherd, you probably know him because he's an LA sports broadcaster. He always markets Elijah Craig. And I just figured why not? Because I've not tried it. So you probably had it before though, right?
Well, I think this is the other one that I have not had.
Oh,
actually, I think I've had the small batch. So this is new.
Oh, okay. So this is just the Elijah Craig small batch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went out and bought this one specifically for this because this is the one I don't have.
Oh,
so
because you haven't had it. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. Let's go.
Here.
Sorry. I hope the microphone done picked up that cough.
Oh yeah, right. No, I got it.
That's some.
So that definitely has it. It definitely. I taste the oak for sure. Kind of reminds me of an Angel's Envy.
Oh, that's one I'm going to bring on the show next. That's a good call.
I really enjoy Angel's Envy.
Oh, so you like that? All right, so that's my next one for sure. I'm bringing that up for sure.
It's good. I like it.
So I want to tell a small story. I went to a girlfriend's birthday 3 years ago. Not my girlfriend. I mean, my wife's girlfriend. I'm just saying, like a part of the. And we were out at a bar, and the guy goes, "This Angel's Envy is the new thing." I mean, it's fairly new. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's become very, very popular though. You're right.
And so he's like, "I'm telling you, it's gonna be the next best thing." We're at a high end downtown San Diego club, and he's like, I'll give these to you for free just because I want this to be promoted." His buddy was like the promoter, he's like the bartender. And I was like, this is amazing. And I'm just saying, like, now I look back and I'm like, damn, that was he was giving me the pre-need, like the early stage. And now it's like a major thing. So it's pretty funny because it's super expensive in general, it's on the mid range. It's not like, like,
well, it was
bottle, but
there's always something that happens that like will get a whiskey up, all of a sudden will happen. And, I don't know what it was for Angel's Envy. If they just had a really good marketing plan and really good distributors, because I discovered it in a bar, but and then all of a sudden I couldn't find it anywhere. Like it's almost, like for me, it was always when I go out, like Buffalo Trace is one that you can find pretty easily.
Yes.
And then Angel's Envy has also become that as well. But there's always something that happens. And so one of my favorites that's actually really quite hard to find right now is Henry McKenna. And that's a really, really good one. And the first time I ever had it when I was in Philadelphia, like a year and a half ago for an event. And then when we went back and we were filming 10 rounds in Philly,
10 rounds, yeah.
I was trying to get it and they were like, "We're sold out." I'm like, "What do you mean you're sold out?" They're like, I guess a local article that was talking about it got picked up by the Associated Press and went out everywhere. And now all of a sudden that's become the thing. And so even when I went to my guys here over at Mission, they were like, "Well, yeah, we have it, but it also went from $30 a bottle to $100 a bottle."
Wow.
So I was like, I don't want it that bad.
That's like you.
Good. I don't know about that.
No, you went $30 a workout to $100. I'm just saying, like, that's what happens, right? Like, you create Core de Force, which is a great program, and then you create Lift 4, and you're like, now, and then 10 rounds is amazing. I'm just saying, like, Lift 4 puts you on the map. Let's be honest. Like, that was the program that I've done 6 times. Like, awesome. That's how much. I mean, you've yelled at me 100 times, and I've cussed you out at least 50. Especially on leg day. That's the worst day. I hate legs. And I'm trying to do the Murph challenge. I'm sure you know what that is.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm working toward the Murph challenge, but I'm using your workouts during the week to build towards the Murph challenge. So it's interesting how your workouts actually help me do that. Other than the pull-ups, but even the back day, I'm actually building strength because I don't do pull-ups during the week other than your back day. So it's unreal. I'm just saying, like, your workouts are that good. So I want people to understand that Joel knows what the hell he's doing. Like one of the questions I have for you is, you had mentioned you have some MMA background, or is that just you training to be quarter force?
No, I mean, so for me, my background was always group exercise related. That's how it started when I was
Okay.
teaching Les Mills Body Combat, the group exercise
Oh,
program. So
combat.
that's where I started with it. But what I would do is I would take classes in Washington and here to be more authentic in my training. So I kind of I went kind of backwards. I went the opposite. I went the other way around, like where you like do MMA and then you go to this. I did group exercise, but then I went into the MMA world to just become more authentic in my teaching. That's all it was. So like, no, I'm not a fighter. I've never done an actual match. I've sparred, and I've dabbled in all these things. But for me, and for quarter force, me, like it was just from a pure fitness standpoint and wanting to learn that world from the fitness element of it. It's like, because you see these guys, they're flipping shredded, and the way they train is incredible. So we really want to mirror that and mimic that as much as possible. So we did that with quarter force. And so with quarter force, while Jericho was on maternity leave, I was rolling. I was Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I was doing some, I had done kickboxing before, but I went really into kickboxing, American kickboxing, Muay Thai, and was just working with some really good guys in local area, fighters and everybody, to just learn how they train. And that's what we took to make quarter force what it is, something that was very authentic. During that, and I grew up with boxing in terms of father. We always watched boxing together. So, but during all that stuff that I was doing, boxing was what stuck with me. I always went back to boxing. I just enjoyed it more than anything else. Like, the kicking, the rolling. I was like, day one, I was like, I am not a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy because I have to roll around with another grown, sweaty man. I have no interest in this. I don't like this. No, thank you. But boxing, I really enjoyed. And so that became my fitness thing. I'm a weights guy. I love weightlifting and boxing. So, what was Live For? So quarter force was different because it was a collaborative project. Obviously, had, a teammate with Jericho. We had some pretty strict criteria of what the company wanted us to make for them as well. That was in the transition of DVD world. We were the second to last program to make a DVD program, which that ties you into disc space. So, people don't like, this is all the shit that you never think about when it comes to it. But like, you can only have so many workouts and they can only be so long because you can only sell so many DVDs to keep the price point low. Like, it's all this crazy stuff that we had no clue coming into it, what was in store for us, but it was a huge learning process. So with Live 4, I was like, okay, when I got that opportunity to make that program, for me, it was, look, I like whiskey, as we have figured this out. I love working out. I love being fit, but that lasts this long in my entire day. That's it. Like half hour most. I spend a day working out, stretching, in that mindset. The other 23 hours, I'm not thinking about it. So because I have my life. And to me, fitness is supposed to enhance your daily life and to do the things that you want to do. So right now, what I do is I work out, but then I am working around the house. I'm building shit. I'm golfing. I'm riding dirt bikes. I'm skiing. Give me a season, I'll figure out something to do that has some sort of, activity. So for me with Live 4, I wanted to create something that was, for the first time, a program that specifically went after that enhanced people's life. It wasn't a program where you said, you have to stop doing this and you have to stop doing that. It was simply saying, look, you know what? Work out 4 days. I don't give a shit what 4 days of the week you work out. Just work out these 4 days. Challenge yourself with the weightlifting. Obviously, from the physiological perspective, from the weightlifting perspective, I went with the 3 sets of 10. That's hypertrophy training. So I said, so I looked at it and said, with, you know, obviously have a great team at Beachbody with my fitness director there. And we looked at it and said, hey, look, how can I get the best possible results in 4 days? Based also what we know that people always, this is all my years of the gym as well. The number one thing that people always have in terms of a barrier is time. They say, I don't have time to work out. I have a job, I have a life. So with Lift 4, it was, and I never know if I'm going to make another program either. So I obviously, when I'm writing this program, I'm like, look, this is good. If I never make anything else, this is what I want to be remembered for. And that was what Lift 4. It was something where I was like, I want this program to be the first program that people truly feel that it works into their life, that it is something that actually molds into their world. Like, don't come into my world, because my world's completely different than your world and everybody else's. I'm going to make something that goes into your world and still works. Right. And that's exactly what Live 4 is.
And believe me, that, and I want to make sure everyone understands right now that Autumn and you, and I've been training. I was in the Navy since I was 19, and I worked out 6 days a week. I gained 50 pounds. I always was a big fan. But when 2018 hit, I went to Autumn, 80-day obsession, and then I went to you, back to back to back. And what I'm trying to say is, like, you have such a relatability to me, because I always wanted to be a trainer. Like, just because I love what you say is, like, you want to help people. You want to, you know, and so being a coach, which I am, I'm not a business builder, so this isn't about that. I want to help people, like, learn their next, like you said, just like, hey man, fit it in, do your thing. So ultimately what I'd like to know is, how do you become a Beachbody trainer? Like,
become a Beachbody super trainer. I have no idea. I really, really don't, because there's no criteria. There's not. I mean, like, at this point, you know, like, people now have heard, like, yes, okay. In terms, did I go to college for fitness? No. I don't have a degree in fitness. Do I? I have my certifications. I have, you know, I have an ASM certification, which anybody can get. You just have to do the work. You know, CPT, I have that. I've gone through all these different things.
Right, but everyone does that. So what is it that set you apart?
Right. I think for me, what I have that through everything that I've done, I got the real world experience, and I saw it, where I truly feel, and, you know, like, I feel like that I'm the real life fitness guy, like, where I'm just like, look, I'll be the first person to say, let's go work out tomorrow morning. Let's bust our ass, and then let's go to the golf course, and then let's go have a beer. Like, that's, to me, that's it, because, like, that life,
right,
what we have going on, like, there's so much going on in this world right now, but especially for every single person has a different day-to-day. So to think that their day-to-day is going to fit into a fitness program, to me, is the opposite way you should think. Mm-hmm. So what I have is, I have that real world scenario mindset that has allowed me to get to the point where I'm in, but also hit the fuck it button, not scared to hit the button, but then also just, and what I've always told people is, like, look, you just gotta continue to have conversations, make connections, make relationships, and always keep yourself open to new opportunities, and not be scared to take it on, because it may or may not work out. You never know. So and that's the worst answer ever, because I really don't know. There's no application process to become a super trainer. There's not, but, you know, you just have to continuously to work for it. Now, in terms of actually making a program, for me, I can only speak to myself in terms of how I make my programs. I'm a total neurotic neatnik. So an organization is the thing. So my programs, like my entire Lift 4 program and my entire 10 rounds program, is on one big spreadsheet, complete one big Excel spreadsheet. I'm an Excel junkie because you can make it all organized and stuff. So that's how I write it. And what I do is I take what Beachbody in a company from Carl Deichler to everybody else, what they want out of the program, because it's their money, obviously. So they're going to say, hey, you know, Carl, like, let me give you 10 rounds, for example. Carl called me up and said, hey, man, you know, Lift 4 has been great. You box. I know you box. What do you think about doing a boxing program? I'd love for you to do a boxing program. I'm like, okay, cool. Tell me what you're thinking. He told me what he was thinking. And out of that conversation, I got bullet points of what he wants and how he envisions it. I go, great. I'll get back to you. So I'll sit down, I'll work it out based on what I do is up until recently, obviously with COVID, but I was going to my boxing gym. I have a boxing trainer.
All the videos.
Yeah, like legit boxing trainer. She's a former, she's from Ireland. She's a former champion over there. She beats the shit out of me. I love it. And so, you know, I train authentically. You know, I still spar a little bit, not a lot, but, you know, get into that world. And so I look at what they want and what we kind of hopefully envision the end process being. And then I start reverse engineering it, basically, of saying, okay, so what are we trying to do? And so with 10 rounds, it's like, we want to make something that is as authentic, for me especially. I want this to be as authentic as possible to the boxing world, where even a boxer looks at this and says, okay, that's legit. The worst thing to me when it comes to a program is from a reputation standpoint, is for me or Beachbody to try to say, this is the most authentic boxing program ever. And it's not.
Right.
So, you know, for what control that I have over the programming, I'm going to make sure that it is in line with what we're trying to do and what we say it is. Right. So, you know, 10 rounds took a while. It was a challenge. You know, Lift 4, I knew what I wanted with Lift 4. Lift 4 took just a few months, honestly, to write. It was very easy in terms of hypertrophy training and things like that. That was simple. 10 rounds took, from start to finish, it took a year to just all in, nonstop testing. I scrapped, I don't even know how many versions of it. Would try something, didn't work, threw it away, would try something. I mean, and a lot of the writing I do here at my house is sitting at the island in the kitchen and just trying things and writing out. I'm old school. I even sketch out on paper and try it. And then one day it clicked and came together.
Well, the good news is that through all your experience, you've gone to appreciate the Frank Sinatra of Jack Daniels. That's what you told me earlier. That's not your favorite. You wanted to wait till the last.
There's a reason that it is in a decanter.
Mine's not, and his is. So we're going to appreciate the vintage of Sinatra. Right, and I'm not sure if you're a Sinatra fan or you just like the whiskey.
So I am a Sinatra fan, and my last little story is this little guy right here. It says RP. And there's 4 guys in my life. We got Mike Karpinko, Josh Spencer, and Mick McAllister. So these guys have come in. So there's 4 of us total, 3 guys and myself. So they've come into my life over the years and more recently though. So we're the Rat Pack, and that's exactly what RP means.
Mike, hold on. Mike is the one in the video from 10 rounds, right?
Mike was in 10 rounds.
Right.
100%. There was no question. He's my sparring buddy. I mean, we beat up on each other. Like So so I know Sinatra well.
Very cool. Very cool.
But yeah, that's so no, we are the Rat Pack, and we've, you know, for us, what we've done, you know, and we've inducted other guys into it, so to speak. But you know, for us, it's just about being good. You know, we call ourselves a Rat Pack. It has nothing to do with Frank Sinatra or something. Right. This is what brought the story up. Is just the fact of, like, we have a mantra that's just don't be a dick. That's it.
I love it.
And it's that simple, where we look at people, we look at men, we look at women, we look at everybody, and just saying, look, especially this day and age, it's like, we don't have to agree. We don't have to agree on the same values in terms of, or the same political views, the same religious views, whatever it is. It doesn't mean we can't not get along and not be assholes to each other. And you know, that's the standpoint that we live by. And you know, obviously living life to its fullest and enjoying it. So that's why, you know, we call ourselves the Rat Pack, and because we were close like that. And that's back in the day, Sinatra and those boys, that's what they were too. They were thick as thieves, and so that's what we do.
Well, I'll be glad to come up and spar with you as a black belt in Taekwondo. And join the Rat Pack, even though you'll kick my ass because you're about 50 pounds heavier than I am.
I was gonna say the sparring of a boxer and Taekwondo won't work out very well because you're a kicker and that's illegal in boxing. So we got to work on that.
I did study Muay Thai, but then again, that's kicking. So we're totally screwed. But
all right, so we're gonna put some gloves on you and get you up.
ABS, sure. There we go.
Cheers. It's the best, man.
We're not going to end there. We're going to ask you real quick, what do you have lined up for next? You mentioned golf. I see your post on golf. I see your post on motorcycle riding. Once this is over, what do you plan to do with your life? Just retire and go to Mexico because you are in Mexico often.
We're in Mexico a lot too. I don't know in terms of like programming wise. I feel fairly confident I'll do another program or two.
Good.
I don't know what they are yet. The way the cycle kind of works in Beachbody is it's usually every other year. So I'm kind of like on the even. I'm kind of on the even number of years right now. So I just launched in 2020. So I would think something in 2022-ish is foreseeable. I've got ideas. I think based on the success of Lift 4, it'd be fun to do something else with in that weightlifting world, but you never know. So what I do right now is 10 rounds is still new. It just came out. It came out in April. It's not even in the All Access library yet until October.
Are you shitting? So, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I realized I'm always a subscriber, the early.
Right. So if you think about it, with 10 rounds, it's only the people who purchase early access. So so if you think about like Beachbody On Demand right now has 2.5 million subscribers. There's only maybe 250, 300,000 people that purchase early access. So we have, we have over 2 million people that have yet to even try 10 rounds. So it's going to be, so between now and October, I did obviously the big pushes for 10 rounds with the sales. And so right now I've gone back to Lift 4 in terms of, just cause that's my firstborn.
Bread and butter, let's be honest.
Yeah. It's the bread and butter, but it's also it's how I work out. I lift 4 to 5 times a week.
Yes.
Do my boxing 1 to 2 a week. That's how I do it. So that's what I'm doing right now. And that's my happy place. And that's where I'm happy right now is doing that. So I'm going to do that. Enjoy right now. Yeah. I'm enjoying the golfing, joined a country club and like legit, like golf like 4 times last week. Like it's so golf I love. And then, did dirt biking. So I'm enjoying it. It took a year because when I go into work mode last year, like I didn't do anything last year. It was an entire year of doing nothing but events and writing this program. So, it's interesting that you take an entire year where you do a lot of sacrifices and you don't get to really do much. And then, so now it's like, all right, let's enjoy it. And so take the wife out and we go to Mexico a lot. It's very easy for us to get there from LA. We travel safe, of course, and make sure we go out with the good places. And for us, we're around less people in Mexico than we are in LA. So we actually feel a little safer at this point. So yeah, that's what's next right now is look, everything from this point on, I'm 37. I'm going to turn 38 in September. For me, it is simply about I'm going to work when I need to work, and then when I'm not working, I'm going to enjoy the shit out of everything else because that's exactly where it's at. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what's next for me is doing exactly what I'm doing right now.
Well, the good news is you're 11 years behind me, and.
But you know what? It doesn't look like it, buddy. So you're doing good.
Well, you and I both have a lot in common with the sun. I think we both. I'm out by my pool. We're very dark. I love it. Well, I want to take the moment to just say a thank you so much. You are a true inspiration to me. My son, who is becoming a trainer as we speak, like he's doing online courses. He's done your program. He loves you as far as a trainer. Not like, I don't want to be like, love
I got it.
Yeah,
I got it.
All right. I've had 6 shots. I'm sorry.
Only 6? What are you talking about?
What?
Only
Anyway,
6. Well, to be fair, you also had your chaser. So you have had more than me.
7, right? And I did I went heavy. You were half anyway. You're probably smarter than I am, but that's the whole point of the show: to get buzzed, to chat, to talk about it. And I just want to say I thank you so much for joining me. I feel like I'm not zoomed in like you, I'm 165 pounds, and how much are you? Come on.
If I had let's say 185.
What? I thought you were like 230.
No, I'm like 185. So I got
God, that's
20.
not fair for you to be that big at 185. My mother has a crush on you because your arms are so big. Like, I feel like I need to flex out. It's stupid.
It's just, hey, it's just more live forward.